this high-pitched ringing sound. And I'm not plugging wires into it or anything. It's just sitting in my field generators, and no other stone does that. And that's because every material on the periodic table and combination of materials has proprietary, abilities and properties. And Boyd is saying there's materials on these crafts that we've never seen yet. We don't even understand these materials. And we don't bring, we don't fund the scientists that really know how to do a good job on this. So that stuff is still sitting in there. And yes, we have huge triangular craft at Lockheed. I've confirmed that. And we have the beam weapon. And there's no way I believe that we would, if we really believe the Stephenville UFO or the one over Phoenix was alien, and I know we have this weapon, we would have shot it down for sure. Or we would have tried. And I don't believe with all the F-16s carrying those weapons on them today that we couldn't have shot it down. Because we did successfully shoot down the Roswell flying saucer. And I know there's different theories on that. I know lightning storms. How many people have seen, even when I was in Los Angeles, huge lightning strikes hitting airplanes, commercial airline planes, and a couple of people get a little bit of electrocution, but the plane doesn't go down. I don't believe that story. You can believe whatever you want. I believe the testimony of this man is true. So with that, I beg you to consider that we can build our own. We see all the evidence. It's pointing to us everywhere. We can build it. And if anybody wants to help me, send an email to David Sereda, S-E-R-E-D-A, @hotmail.com, and we'll see what we can do together. Thank you very much. We can take some questions for the last 25 minutes here. If anybody has questions, I guess we can come up to the microphone here.
Thanks. Hello, testing.
Yeah, you just got to get closer to it. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks again, Mr. Sereda. You mentioned that the plane that was shot down by the pilot in Roswell, that the pilot immediately landed and examined the plane?
Examined the UFO, yeah.
Would that have been on, I guess, Highway 60 near Corona?
The question is, and Boyd's testimony from the Navy doctor at Roswell is that we shot down, a young pilot had shot down the Roswell flying saucer with the Tesla death ray. He was being treated for radiation burns from the weapon. But before he went to the hospital, he landed his plane and he made contact and saw the aliens. They were not the Germans.
Are you aware of what the condition of the road? Was it a dirt road or was it a paved road?
I'm not aware of the condition of the road. Is there anybody in tech who can help us with the microphone here? We can maybe get it to work a little better. Oh yeah, we're getting some feedback. That's what it is.
And just one final question on the issue of whether these free energy devices could be converted real easily to weapons.
Well, I think of the Wright brothers. The question is, could zero-point energy devices be used for weapons? When the Wright brothers built the airplane, I'm sure they just wanted to fly. And they had no idea they would become F-117s one day or B-1 bombers. Zero-point energy has profound environmental implications. It obviously can take us way beyond fossil fuels and beyond. In fact, with Jamie's little transformer there, I believe the battery on an electric car will last, 10 times as long at least, if we were to use these things and we knew, if you got a little bit of help to take it to the next level. But the last thing Jamie's thinking is how I'm going to use my zero-point device to power a weapon. We already have a lot of power. We can already power weapons. And I think it's human nature, whether it decides to use any technology, even oil, for good or for evil. Next question.
Yes. Are you familiar with the Monroe Institute and what they're doing with their HemiSync technologies?
Oh, of course, yeah.
To create out-of-body experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm wondering if they are aware of your research and the possibilities. I know that they do the differential. They have different frequencies going in each ear, and the differential is a brainwave frequency that seems to enhance the potential to do out-of-body travel. And I'm just wondering, but I think that frequency is, they're looking at 7 hertz, right around there. Mm-hmm. But if it's
close to the frequency of the Earth, yeah.
Yeah, but these frequency that you're talking about, the one that is the Earth harmonic.
It's not a frequency, it's a harmonic code. And a harmonic code is the differential between
Yes.
two frequencies of...
Okay, but that's what's happening. They're doing
Two or more.
two different frequencies
Yeah,
coming into
I
each
understand.
ear. And it is the differential that seems, that the brain
Right.
seems to...
That's very good observation you made, incredible. I know about those, they're called binaural beats. When you beat
Yes,
the
yes.
brain with sound of different wavelengths in each ear,
Yeah.
the space between them causes this altered state function to happen.
Yes.
And it's interesting you say that because when I produced the 1.111 in my lab, which was pretty hard to do, to build this new generator, because all of the windings, everything I do, I have to do by hand, because there's no machines that can do it. I do meditation. I meditate every day for 30 years, and I was wondering why when I went in my lab, 10 minutes later, my brain is producing this huge amount of ecstasy. And one day, there was so much pleasure in my brain, I could barely touch the keyboards because it was like, wow, incredible. And I didn't know if it was the meditation or if it was the 11111. And so what I did is I would go into the lab and not meditate until later that day, or not meditate as much, and it kept happening over and over and over again. And I wrote William Goldman, who's a sound guru, really. William Goldman is amazing if anybody hasn't heard his work. And he said it's probably the binaural beat, but your binaural beats are happening in your wave generators at the speed of light rather than at the speed of sound. And that's why the ecstasy is more intense. And Monroe uses the binaural beat through sound to stimulate an out-of-body experience, which I tried. It didn't work for me. I have had many out-of-body experiences and mystical experiences, but it didn't work for me. But that is how it works. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they would think about having those differentials be with your ratios.
You could calculate them to some of the ratios that I have, not the Fibonacci.
Right.
The Fibonacci is already well known, and a lot of experiments have been done on it. But the 1.111 is the 1111. How many people see 1111 everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because you're tuning into the mother code of the universe. That's what I believe, and of course there's more to it than that. But that's a brilliant observation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
David, during the millennial celebrations with all the great statesmen there, a great fog came up at the time when they were supposed to have put a gold capstone back on.
The pyramid, yeah.
What is your take in the fact that they did not do that?
Well, I don't think they really understood what it would do. I think they thought maybe it would be some kind of symbolic kind of message that we were sending to the ETs. But it's interesting that you say that because just in the last couple of months, how many people have seen the pyramid-shaped UFOs flying around in Russia? And I believe Jaime just may have shown one. And one of the ones that I saw in Russia was, I noticed the edges were not wobbling. They were lock solid. That means there's no way you can get an angular piece of geometry as a balloon and the wind's not going to do a little bit of this to it. It was lock solid. And
interesting take on that was the Stargate ET craft that was in fact just totally a pyramid that sat down on top of it.
And I think that is the message. We need to put the gold capstones back on and do the experiments that Mark has inspired me to do.
Hi, David. Thanks for sharing, friend.
Get next to the mic.
You got to get a little closer to the mic there.
Thanks for sharing, friend. I just want to make an observation. I saw someone who made an observation that the pyramids were in the direct center of the landmass. I find that pertinent to your findings. But also, I heard on Coast to Coast a couple of nights ago, a guy by the name of Glenn Kimmel mentioned that there's copper in the pyramids. And how might that relate in making the pyramids a communication device?
They become ultra supercapacitors as soon as you put the copper with the stone. The copper on its alone is
so
not
it would just
capacitor.
amplify. Is that correct?
It's magic what happens.
Yeah.
And
and also you may or may not know that the Nazis were very attuned with mercury, and they took a lot of it down to South America, I understand. And that's used in the toroidal...
well, that's what I think these two little round balls are.
In the plasma of the craft.
Right. These two round balls here, they're not. I'm not on the screen anymore. I think those are where, again, different materials going into the opposing magnetic field drive will produce different effects. And mercury needs to be tested, and so do a lot of different materials. So it's not just about the opposing magnetic fields. There's another level.
What part do you think mercury then would play?
Well, we have a lot of evidence because people have seen, you know, from what Bob Lazar has told us about the power of Mercury. But element 115, the mathematical formula he gave us,